Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here finally to do my top 10 worst movies of 2019. This is gonna be a video, I'll just say that. And keep in mind, this is my opinion. I'm not saying that you have to feel the same way as me. I'm not saying that you have to agree with me. And I'm not saying that you even have to listen to this video if you don't want to, because I might say some things about certain movies that people hold to this epic high standard that they ultimately do not live up to. And so we'll start off with the honorable mentions. I mean dishonorable mentions, because these movies are crap. The only reason they're not in my top 10 worst list is because magically there managed to be 10 movies that were even worse than my dishonorable mentions. First off, El Camino, a Breaking Bad story. This movie not only proves that Breaking Bad should not have ended, and that they rushed it to an end, and that this was an integral part to the story that they just kind of left off for some reason, it also shows a lot of the flaws with their writing, because, in Breaking Bad I mean, because there would be a lot of episodes where really entertaining and exciting stuff would happen, and then you'd have this filler story going on in the background. This whole movie almost feels like filler. It feels like all those crappy plots about Hank not being able to enjoy his life because he has this injury, and how Marie is stealing spoons. It feels like that. Except there's a lot of plot holes. Jesse Pinkman gets over PTSD in like 2 minutes, and it's bad. It's got a lot of unnecessary fan service too, and I think that's another weakness of the show, is that a lot of the times they sacrifice good storytelling for fan service. And an example of this, or to make fans happy, I mean. An example of this is in the final season, they wanted to kill off Walter White's family, and it was going to be a really dark, disturbing sequence. They were going to throw the baby in the pool and let the baby drown to death. They were going to shoot Walter Jr. for trying to protect her. They were going to kill Skyler. I mean, really, really bleak. And that sounds good. It's not good as in like it's good, but in terms of, look at what all this man did. He should have horrible consequences for being this horrible person. And I mean, he killed 9 innocent people just because he was afraid they were going to talk. And then and then we can't kill off 3 people that are related to him because the fans will get upset. I mean, that's bullshit. The same kind of thing happens in this movie. A lot of stuff I could get into. I'm not going to, because I'm already going over time. Next up, Glass. I knew not to expect much from this movie because it came from Blumhouse, and as you know, they make shitty movies for a low budget, and then they brag about how they made a lot of money, it seems, off of a shitty movie with a low budget. And it's just a continuous cycle of shit, including the Halloween 2018, the Conjuring series that has now devolved with all these spin-offs and shit, and now we're having the Invisible Man movie that just came out today that might start a series of shitty movies, and it's just continuous. With Glass, they started and ended a universe within 2 years. They started a universe with Split, and then that universe ended with Glass. The story in this is actually okay, but it feels very rushed. It feels like there should have been a movie in between these where it's just about Bruce Willis versus James McAvoy, and it should not have been this rushed storyline. But it has some good moments with James McAvoy and Anya Taylor-Joy. I really enjoyed those scenes a lot. I enjoyed Samuel L. Jackson's performance a lot. But overall, the movie's just terrible. And it's even worse than El Camino, and that's just embarrassing. Next up, 1917. Woo! Go ahead, dislike, 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 dislike. I don't care. Because this movie did not need to exist. It is pointless. It is pretentious. It is gimmicky. The fact that it all has to be one shot. Well, since it has to all be one shot, they sacrifice good storytelling and good camera work too in exchange for, oh look, we made this movie one shot, look at us, we did a masterpiece because it's all one shot. That's what this movie is. I never wanted to see it. I only saw it because it was someone else's birthday, and I basically took them to see it for their birthday, and that was it. I had no intention of seeing this movie, but I had to, and I effing hated it. And I hated the characters, how they made stupid decisions. I hated all the conveniency, how the main character basically gets carried to his final destination in a river, basically just to save time and keep on with the one-shot gimmick. But I will watch it again. I will watch it again over these next movies, these next 11 movies. So that is a good thing. I do not think it is a good movie. Next up, Parasite. Oh yeah. Oh, Marco doesn't like Parasite. How predictable. Well, here's the thing. I gave this movie a shot. It was another movie I had no intention of seeing because, to be honest, we have to take a gamble with every movie we see. You're spending money and then you're not making any money because people aren't even viewing the videos. And it's not getting to that subscriber number. And so it was a huge gamble to watch this movie even. But Safi really wanted to watch it, so I watched it too. And everything about the movie was good, except for the second half. The entire second half, the way it was written, the way it was executed, it was just terrible. It's a huge mess. The first half, it's like a kind of like a Hitchcock film, mixed with Scorsese and some other types of elements that I was really excited about. Like, this could be really good. But then the second half comes. And with the second half, there's a lot of indie and foreign films that have these twists that kind of make or break a movie, that kind of shift your whole perspective. And for me, this movie had a twist that did not work and that ruined the movie. Because the rest of the movie, they were so focused on the twist that they weren't even focused on the main message, the main point of the movie. That is so much about that twist. I did not like this movie. I would never watch it again, unfortunately. But I do have to applaud the acting, the directing, the cinematography, all that stuff, except for that writing. Now for my number 10. Yes, we're finally to the top 10 worst. I know I seem to, drag a little bit, but it's just because I have to give each of these shitty movies their due in telling you how shitty they are. Number 10 is It Chapter 2. Now go ahead, dislike, dislike, dislike. I don't care. Don't care, because this movie was bad. It was one of those modern, quote-unquote, horror movies. It was barely even a horror movie. It was more of a kid's movie. Safi actually got my hopes up. She said, Marco, the first movie's a kid's movie, and so the second movie will be for adults. And as usual, what happens, the movie is basically a kid's movie. And it's goofy, it has tons of plot holes, it's got lots of stupid jump scares, it's got terrible writing, it's got jokes all over the place. It's just terrible. I mean, they spend the whole movie making fun of Stephen King's endings. And then what do? They use his ending for It. Yes, they use the spider thing. They use Pennywise and the spider for the ending. And let me just tell you, that is retarded. That is so hypocritical to be making fun of his endings the whole film, and then to basically just copy his ending and use a different twist on how to defeat the creature. But I think it had an okay cast. There was some great acting here and there, but Pennywise was hardly in the movie too. That's another very confusing thing. Just this movie's bad. And the director is a fucking liar. He said that he was going to add all these deleted scenes to the second film that weren't in the first one, such as this famous scene that's been discussed over and over and over again, but we've never even seen it. And the scene is Pennywise in the past basically eating a baby, because this mother, she basically gives up her baby so that she can live, and Pennywise eats the baby right on screen. And we have not been able to see this because, of course, it's modern horror, it's not real horror, and we're never going to get to see it except if they make like a 15th one where he's like, oh, finally, we're going to show the scene that we were supposed to show in the first one. Okay, my number 9 is Godzilla King of Monsters. This is another film that I had no intention or desire of watching because I saw that first one that came out in 2014, and I hated it. I thought that it was garbage. It was boring, but Godzilla wasn't even in it. They didn't show the fighting. There's all these humans that clutter up the movie that I don't give a flying fuck about. And then what happens? The second movie is exactly the same. And even worse, they try to redeem an environmental terrorist by just, oh, she has a change of heart, so she's good now, even though she's a terrorist. And, you know, if you don't want to see that, don't watch this movie, because it's... But here's the thing, though. It's not as bad as these other movies, but still, it is so bad because it's exactly what I expected. I thought, maybe this will be different, but not really. I don't have the high hope, and then I watched it, and it was just terrible. You couldn't even see the fighting. There was stuff in front of all the fighting, all these stupid humans. I wish Godzilla would just rip them apart and eat them, and just eat the characters, and that'll be the movie. But it just sucked. My number 8 is 3 from Hell. Rob Zombie's 3 from Hell. This is another one. Dislike, whatever. I just did not like this movie. The first half especially. I was debating on whether or not I should turn it off. And as someone who reviews movies all the time, you don't want to be in the position that you're reviewing something that you don't even want to watch. I mean, this movie is so over-edited. This movie, if you teach a class on how not to edit a movie, you should show this movie as the prime example. This movie is terrible. The second half is okay, actually. It's actually pretty entertaining, but it's still bad. It's still just nowhere near what I expected. The quality, especially coming from Rob Zombie, who's done some fantastic work in the past. This is so amateur, too, and there's a lot of I just do not like it. The story is okay, but nothing really happens with it that's interesting. Sherry Moon Zombie, she gets better in the second half, but she's really annoying, and she's not doing a really good job. But I like some stuff in it. It's not what I expected, and I'm so embarrassed. I put 3 from Hell as the number 1 anticipated movie of 2019. Yes, just think about that. I put 3 from Hell over Irishman, over Avengers, over Ford v Ferrari, Joker, all those movies. I put it as the number 1. And that's what makes me so ashamed, is the fact that I had such high hopes, and then you watch it and it's bad. It's just bad. My number 7 is Murder Mystery from Netflix. Another one of those crappy Netflix original stories where it's like, oh look, someone had a cool idea. And then they make the movie on the weekend, and then the movie comes out, and it's like, yeah, look, there's a movie. Here's the next one. Oh, here's another movie. Here's another movie. Here's another movie. And you have to wonder if they're good or not. This one was terrible. Adam Sandler did a really good job as a comedic main character, but other than that, this movie was trash. The mystery was trash. Jennifer Aniston was a terrible character. I did not like her character. It was boring. It's another one I wanted to turn off, and it's just, I did not like it. And I expected more, especially coming from Adam Sandler, and the fact that there aren't many good murder mysteries nowadays. So yeah, very disappointing. My number 6 is The Lighthouse, Woohoo! Yeah, let's get more dislikes. I'm not proud of the fact that people are going to be upset, but I am proud of the fact that I can acknowledge the truth about these movies, especially this Lighthouse movie right here. You have a movie that you can barely understand because they're talking like they're in the 1800s. And the story itself is stupid. It has a good concept, a good idea, but it doesn't really go anywhere interesting with that idea. It's very boring, very pretentious, a lot of just mindless art shots. Robert Pattinson was miscast. I do not think that he was right for the part of this character. I do think that Willem Dafoe did a great job. I probably would have given him an Oscar nomination, even though I could barely understand him. But yeah, it's just not good, and it's not a horror movie either. That's another thing. It's another one of those fake horror movies where it either gets marketed as one so that more people see it, or a lot of people hype it up as a horror movie because they don't really understand what horror actually is. And that's what this movie is. It's not horror, it's trash. And then my number 5 is Velvet Buzzsaw on Netflix. I did not even finish this bad movie. This Velvet Buzzsaw movie, I could not even finish it. That's how bad it really was. It has Jake Gyllenhaal, it has Rene Russo, it has the same guy who made Nightcrawler, and somehow it is the biggest piece of shit on the planet. It has stupid, boring, not scary jump scares. It has a stupid plot. It's goofy. It's campy. It's corny. It's trash. It's like something that you'd see on a random VHS tape from the 1970s. That's the quality of this movie story. It's not good. And the fact that people gave this movie a fair shot. They did not really like it as much, but still, I have to question. You could have made Nightcrawler 2, and instead you made this weird and stupid movie. I do not ever plan on finishing this movie because it was just so bad. Number 4 is Ready or Not. Yes, Ready or Not, the shitty quote-unquote horror movie that came out that's very popular last year. It is not horror. It's barely even comedy because it's not very funny. It's just trash. And here's the thing. It stars this beautiful Australian woman who starred in The Babysitter, which was actually pretty good. But there was something off with her accent. She was spending so much time trying to put on an American accent that it was restraining her acting ability and restraining her from really emoting and vocalizing a lot more. She was not able to do what she needed to do because she was too busy focusing on this accent. So she should have just been made Australian, in my humble opinion. And then you also have the fact that this movie's concept is very goofy. It's very off the wall. It's very ha ha ha, that's dopey. But they expect you to take that seriously. But then they add all this comedy. They disrespect the game. They don't even explain the game specifics. They don't explain the specifics of anything, really. It's just constant making up new rules. It's stupid because it's like, if this is how it went this time, then why did it go so smoothly all those other times? It's just stupid. It's just so dumb. You have the typical modern thing where there's a 90-pound woman and she's able to overpower these 300-pound men, and that's another issue. It's just trash and unrealistic and stupid and dopey and goofy. And then you have the fact that the Help is participating in this game. The Help has no reason to participate in the game. They're not going to die. It's only the family that's going to die. And so the fact that the Help is participating is just stupid. And it's just to add more kills, to add more victims, because that's what modern quote-unquote horror movies do. They add a lot of unnecessary characters just to make it so that there's more victims. Another thing If you know anything, I don't know. I'm not making. Don't assume things about me from this statement. But if you know anything about satanic rituals, about those type of things, uh, these people have been Satanists for how many years? This family, thousands and hundreds of years, whatever. And one of them actually makes the statement that, fuck the altar, I'm gonna kill you right here. Uh, that's just. If any Satanists are watching, that's probably the stupidest statement I've ever heard. No Satanist would say that. If you don't commit the ritual on the altar, the ritual is not going to work. And it's just, I mean, that's just the stupidity of the writing of this movie, the stupidity of the people who wrote this movie. I mean, obviously, they didn't do their research. They didn't sort of try to make any sort of realistic attempts to try to make this movie scary, to make it more realistic, to make it more frightening. Because this movie could have been like a really dark version of Clue, a really sort of like, oh god, this whole family is trying to kill this poor woman over a ritual that they don't even know if it works or not. But the thing is, it's just a big joke. I found myself really getting angry watching this movie. I wanted to turn it off, but I did not because I thought maybe it'll get better. And then the end of the movie gets even worse because they try to do a Heathers reference by making her sort of look smoky and everything, and she's all messed up, and she's smoking a cigarette with the fire and everything. It looks a lot like Heathers near the end, and it's just the fact that they even think they're in the same realm as Heathers is just fucking laughable. And so my number 3 is The Peanut Butter Falcon. This is another movie people are going to be pissed off about. If you've already seen my review, I don't really have anything else to say. It was a bad movie. It was really, really gross and kind of dark and depressing the way that it's just so stupid. The things they try to make up different attempts to explain things by like, oh, because the main character, this old man helps him slip through the bars of the window, or slip through the window by rubbing lotion all over his body. He rubs lotion all over himself and squeezes himself out. Well, the problem is, then he runs around for over half of the movie or more with no clothes on except for his underpants. And the old man cannot even throw him his clothes in the window. I mean, he can't even pick up the clothes and throw them out the window. I mean, that's just stupid and dumb and irritating, the fact that they had to do that, and how he was basically almost naked the whole movie. It was weird. And then you have the forced romance between Shia LaBeouf and 50 Shades girl. That was terrible. That did not need to happen. You have the sort of ugly look of this movie. That's another thing, the ugliness of how ugly it looked, because they sucked all the color out of it and made it look so ugly and gross and just not colorful like it could have looked, really beautiful like it could have looked. And then you have the fact that there are these really stereotypical, because here's the thing, the movie's all about diversity, the movie's all about making a character for someone with autism. But the thing is, they'll have this rich, dynamic character for him, but then you have these stereotypical rednecks who are very stereotypical. They're caricatures, they're cartoons. And so basically what they're saying with this movie was, it's okay to stereotype rednecks, but it's not okay to stereotype these type of people. And that is a big issue for me. But other than that, the movie was bad. It put me in a bad mood for days. I just hated this movie so much. I could go on and on about this movie. My number two is The Last Black Man in San Francisco. I could not finish this movie. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what the point was. I was just bored to hell. It's another film I had no intention of watching, but for some reason I watched it, and I don't mean to disrespect the movie or whatever, but it's just I did not like it. I just could not get into it. Nothing was really going on. People were talking, you couldn't really understand what they're saying. They don't really talk very much. You don't really understand what the point is. It's just I did not get into this movie like I should have. And so I did not finish it. I turned it off halfway through, and sorry, but it's just that's what happens when you're watching a movie and it goes on and you don't like it, you turn it off. And that's more that I can say for this movie than the Peanut Butter Falcon. At least with the Peanut Butter Falcon, I watched the whole thing while simultaneously stabbing myself in the testicles because I was so irritated and pissed off about Peanut Butter Falcon. But yeah, my number one is Toy Story 4. Oh God. I'm gonna restrain myself from what I'm gonna say because I don't want to get in trouble. But this movie is evil. This movie is pure evil. It is a sinister agenda propaganda film. If you look up how this movie was made, the director explains. Here's his explanation. He went into his daughter's bedroom and he was upset that only 2 female character posters were on her bedroom. And so his whole intention of making this movie was basically so that his daughter could have another female character to look up to. And now I know what you're saying. What's wrong with that? Why doesn't she have any boy posters in her bedroom? I mean, seriously, she doesn't have any Spider-Man posters, any Batman posters. Why is that? Because it's segregation. It is the feeling that you cannot identify with another race, another gender, another sexuality. It is the lie and the myth that these SJWs create. They say, this little girl, she's living a terrible life because she can't empathize and she can't feel represented by a white person or a man because she's a she and they're men. And now here's the thing. Another thing is, why doesn't she have a poster of Jessie from Toy Story? Why did they have to make a whole movie and do all this other agenda shit just to get her to like a female character? It's because this female character in Bo Peep, she was not a strong feminist character. She was the love interest of Woody. That was her character. And she was a great character. I mean, she was just kind of forgettable and everything because she wasn't hardly in the movie. There were more important female characters in these movies like Jessie and then the sister. I mean, come on. And then you have the fact that this movie is so sinister in what it's trying to do. I mean, it is full of indoctrination and agendas. In the second Toy Story movie, they have Jessie. They have this strong and great character in her, and they explain she was abandoned, all this crap, and they make you feel for her, and she's a great character you can really like and get into. And that there's no politics going on in that. But in this movie, it's literally all about politics. It starts off, and basically Woody is being ignored. He is being shunned by Bonnie because he is a boy toy. He is a boy, and girls cannot play with boys' toys. And and then basically Woody's forcing her to play with him. He's climbing up into her bed and everything. And now here's where I really started to get emotional and upset. They started stepping on Woody. They started throwing him all over the place. They started just pounding on him, sitting on him, doing anything to him, acting like he shouldn't be there, acting like he's not meant to be there. And this is all fucking after Toy Story fucking 3, where the whole movie Bonnie becomes his best friend. And like they have this great bond and everything, and it was nice. Andy sacrificed taking Woody to college to give him to this girl, and in this movie, this little bitch can't even appreciate that, and she's throwing him in the closet, ignoring him. It's just disgusting. And Woody should have been kept with Andy. Andy was planning on taking him to college, and he gives them to her instead, and look at what she does with him. And then look at where Woody ends up, too, of course. We're not even 10 minutes into the movie, and I'm already getting pissed off, because that is what this movie is about. It is about agendas. It is about sneaking ideology into these children's stories to indoctrinate children and to make sure that they know that this is a new era, and this is one of those new era, Me Too era movies. Because then you have something later in the film where Woody gives up his voice box to this talking doll who basically, she says, I want an owner. And so basically she wants Woody to sit around in a shop and rot and sit around unattended to for 50 years while she gets to go off and do whatever she wants. And of course he finally has to give it to her to save this stupid, asexual, weirdo, nothing gender, forky figure that no one gives a fuck about. This stupid, forky, dumb action figure that she makes in class. And he gives up his voice box for that piece of shit. I wish just throw it in a fire and forget about the stupid Forky. And then after that, this is where my favorite scene of the movie comes in, because she thinks, oh, that girl's finally gonna take me home. And then guess what happens? She rejects her. She just throws her, and then she starts crying. I was cheering. I was laughing at the top of my lungs. I was so happy that this horrible, evil doll got rejected by this amazing girl in Harmony. Because Harmony, she's playing with Woody and everything, and then she just abandons him, forgets about him apparently, because she leaves him on a swing set, and then she doesn't even act like she's trying to find him or anything. I mean, I could go on and on. I'd love to do a spoiler review for this movie, but I know it's not going to get any views, so I'm doing it here. Another thing is, near the beginning of the film, you have this female character, and she yells and berates Woody for going to class with Bonnie. Oh, how dare you go to class with her? And she yells at him, and it's sickening, the agendas in this movie. And then you have also the fact that at the end of the film, he gives his badge to Jessie after she's done nothing the entire movie. He doesn't give it to Buzz. He doesn't give it to someone else. He gives it to Jessie because she is a woman character. Agenda, 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 agenda. And then he ends up with stupid Bo Peep, and he's in the stupid circus rescuing stupid toys. I mean, how dumb is that? What a stupid ending. What a sickening and disgusting ending. The fact that Woody is no longer going to be with the toy family that we've grown up to know and love. I mean, just sickening. This movie makes me sick to even think about it. It makes me sick the fact that on Letterboxd, I could only give it 1.5 stars. I couldn't give it 0 stars and give a big middle fucking finger to it. And so, yeah, I fucking hate this movie. The only thing that I like out of everything is I kind of like those Key and Peele. I really liked them, actually. I really did. I thought they were cute. I thought they were funny. But other than that, fuck this movie. Seriously, fuck it. Yeah. Okay, so now that's the end. If you liked this long video, please like it. Just click the like button. It won't take long. Just click it. Or click the dislike button. I really don't care. And then, if you like this video, also feel free to subscribe to our channel if you want to see more honest movie review content, where you can go there and see me talk about Toy Story 4 and all the agendas and be honest, because the movie was made to fulfill agendas, to indoctrinate, and that is something that needs to be exposed. So that's it. Goodbye, everybody!